Hey, this is the Alteryx podcast where we will be discussing all things Alteryx, from learning, the Alteryx community, to even interviewing some important people in the Alteryx world, all to help you on your journey to being a better Alteryx developer. In this, which is our first podcast at Alteryx, we're going to discuss how Joshua and I got started using Alteryx. We're also going to talk about the resources available to new users and how you can shorten your learning curve. We hope you enjoy the first episode. Hi, I'm Chris Goodman, and I'm an Alteryx ace and innovator.
And I'm Joshua Burkow, also an Alteryx ace and innovator.
Welcome to Alteryx.
So I got to ask you, like, how did you get introduced to Alteryx? Like, what was Chris's cloud opening and doves flying out movement?
So, attended a training course provided by work in 2017. I think it was even like November 2017, so 3 years ago now. It was Jordan Barker at Alteryx that was delivering that training course. Was sat in the room and was like, "Wow, like this tool, like why have I not seen this before?" So kind of, I guess, had a bit of a background in sort of data analytics beforehand. So kind of spent 5 years being a transport modeler and was doing lots of SQL, kind of lots of stuff in Excel, VLOOKUPs. I was probably one of the few people that kind of did VBA, so kind of scripting. I've always come from this mindset of if something's repeatable, like more than once, then let's automate it. And then, kind of had my 1 day training session at Alteryx's offices in London and was like, oh, this is really cool as a tool. Like I just then jumped in it and kind of was like trying to solve like my own problems, like not problems in my head type thing, but kind of just sort of going, okay, what's this thing called web scraping? Like what websites can I scrape? Like what can I pull down? And those sort of things. So kind of like, I guess I spoke to someone and they talked about how they kind of got into Excel and it was just like, okay, let's do cash flow modeling. Like let's do my sort of like weekly expenses. Kind of did the same with Alteryx. It was like, okay, well, what are the problems I'm trying to solve? And I guess if you've got your own sort of things that are unique to you, then you're more motivated to go and solve them.
Yep, I was just going to say exactly the same thing. That you have when you're first getting into Alteryx, if you can apply Alteryx to the problems that you have today, you'll be more, just like you said, you'll be more engrossed and inclined to solve those things. And you also, because you're in that mindset of wanting to solve it, you're actually going to pick up Alteryx a lot faster because you have a purpose, right? You have a reason to be going after it.
So what about you? What was your sort of?
Mine was interesting. I think I'm going. I've lost track of the number. One of these days I got to stop being lazy and go look it up. But it's like 9 years or something ago. I was working at a tiny little shoe company in Beaverton that some people know about. I'll let you guess who it is, but. My challenge was really around the fact that the team I was working with, and we had tons of smart people and tons of people that would work late into the day, into the night, and so that wasn't the problem. The problem was it just kept coming, and we couldn't. We had a product that we were building all the global supply chain reporting on, and you can imagine for multi-billion-dollar company, it's not a small amount of information that you have to process every month. And so we had that all, like yourself, in VBA. We had an Access product. We had tons of SQL, and then we had a lot of manual work. And it was fun and exciting because we knew we were doing important stuff. But then, we're stressing ourselves out, right? We're burning ourselves out because we have so much, work to try to get done. And a lot of us of that, in that group didn't really have the filter or the mindset to be like, yeah, I should probably take a break now. We were all, balls to the wall and going crazy. And one day, one of the guys in the supply chain analytics team came over to my desk and he's like, hey, I just saw this demo of this tool and it looks really good. And based on, what I know about you, in the work you're doing, like this could be great because sounds like you can maybe automate some of this stuff. I was like, I'm not entirely sure. It's like, but it's really good for the analytics side. Like they're doing a lot of R back then, and they were doing a lot of amazing stuff. And I'm telling you, man, the clouds broke open, doves flew out, a light shone down on my desk, and it's like the second coming, because I couldn't believe it. It took me probably a few days just to get into it, but like I'm a very visual person, and so you can imagine, seeing Alteryx and having that drag and drop functionality, it immediately clicked. I was like, oh, I could do this. I mean, I like writing code, and I like developing, and I like the technical aspect of it, but I also like being hyper productive, and I don't like having to write code all the time when I see the problem over and over again. And it was amazing. So it just, in a matter of a few days, it clicked. In a few weeks, we were like, I got the rest of the team on, and I mean, it started spreading from there. And even today, like there's hundreds and hundreds of users, but I was able to help the team, and we started pushing everything to Alteryx, and it just spread like wildfire. But back then there wasn't as much as many resources as there are today. The users today, like, not to sound like the old man of Alteryx, but like you guys have it good today compared to what was there. Like we had to figure this stuff out, and you look back, like I used to ping guys like Mark Frisch and some of the earlier Deanna Sanchez, and like some of those had been around as long, and they were extremely useful. You talk to those type of people, and they're just willing to help. I leaned a lot on a couple of the SAs, the solution architects, and the sales engineers back in the day, which, shout out to Tony Moses and team. They were just amazing. And it was like never ending questions to them and trying to figure out how to do new things. But yeah, that was it, man.
So I've got a couple of questions on that.
Yeah.
9 years ago, was Alteryx called Alteryx then?
It was. Yeah, it was. So SRC was the name of the company before it turned to Alteryx. I'd have to look it up when they actually switched over, but I think it had been Alteryx for at least a good number of years.
Okay.
I believe so.
And what version?
We'll have to put that in the show notes.
What was your first version that you picked up?
So it was, I want to say that it was like 8 or 9. Like it was, I have to look that up too. I think I save everything. So I bet you I have a copy of the actual first install, but maybe it was like 8 or something like that. It was well before 10. So I gotta go. Yeah. I gotta go. You're bringing me back to the day, man.
I think mine might have been 10, maybe 11 something. But I was thinking about it this morning. But I've switched laptops, but I've still got sort of those first sort of training workflows. So I can probably go back and look in the XML and work out what versions they were saved down in.
Right.
I definitely don't have 10 installed on my machine anymore.
The tools like didn't even look the same. Like they had a different design to them. They had like pattern around them, and so it was. I mean, it was very different, and there was a lot less of them, right? That when it first started, there was, the favorites tools were just starting to become favorites, right? How do you think users are getting started today? Like, what's it mean to get started using Alteryx today?
So I guess many users will probably come across Alteryx from like a corporate like training event, so they'll have like an introduction to Alteryx, and that's just, I see those sort of sessions mostly being people just opening their eyes and saying there's this software out there, it's called Alteryx, this is what you can do with it. So yes, that's your kind of like day 0, day 1 of learning Alteryx, but I wouldn't really say you've kind of got started off one of those courses. There's other resources that I think people start picking up, and then would say they're starting. I guess, I don't know. the training sessions like warming your engines up, and then kind of you haven't
Right.
kind of put your foot to the pedal yet.
I think there's also a lot of people that are just coming into it from word of mouth, right? There's, you know, they heard of Alteryx, and frankly, that's how I heard of it. Well, you know, someone tapping you on the shoulder and saying, "Hey, have you heard of this tool? It's kind of interesting, right?"
Yeah.
And the other thing that I think helps a lot of people too is, you know, kind of talking about this idea that there's a lot more resources and training out there today. Like, so it's out there. And more people are hearing about it, right? So there's the component of Alteryx as a brand and just being out there and people listening to it. But you know, when hearing about one thing is great, but like when you actually go to the site and go to the community and then you start seeing all these resources, it seems like there's a lot more now than there was in the past.
Yeah, there's definitely more stuff. Like you can see community team putting things out. So kind of I shared with my team recently things like a learning pathway for doing advanced certification. Like that
Exactly.
really exists.
Yep.
And just, I guess it's evolution of time. Things like weekly challenges, like I can't remember the number now, but it's well over 250 or pretty close to 250 now. Whereas I think when I started, it maybe was around about 100 point.
Right.
So yeah, kind of if you come into Alteryx now, there's just so much there that you can do. Whereas like sort of an early user, it's like, oh, I'm waiting a week now to get the next thing. So I guess it kind of fits with sort of mindset of people like binging things. Like you can binge a Netflix series, you can now binge a whole load of Alteryx weekly challenges.
Yeah, I feel like I'm probably going to age myself by this, but like I was learning Alteryx before weekly challenges were even a thing, and so when they first came out, that was amazing. You know, that was incredible because it was kind of like these, you know, what it is today is these bite-sized problems that you can kind of figure out. And what one of the impacts of the weekly challenges that a lot of people didn't realize at first was that you think about a weekly challenge now, say they posted this week, within a little bit of time, an hour, 2 hours, there's probably 10 posts already of people who have solved that weekly challenge and posted their results up there, and really like showing all the different ways to solve that solution, right? And so if you think about it, all these weekly challenges, but it's cool that you as an individual get to solve it because that's you building up your skills. But the real payoff is that I, as a user, can see yours. I can see, you know, Nicole Johnson's and Patrick Deegan's and Mark Cruz and all these other guys, and see 1,500 different ways to solve the same problem, which that's phenomenal to me.
Yeah, it's that kind of thing in terms of like Alteryx. There's more than one way to solve it, and just people have slightly different thought processes, and it's really interesting. I've seen sort of Mark talk about sort of the ordering of doing things in terms of you can have massively optimize your workflow, like kind of filter out the data you don't need as early as possible before doing a join, as opposed to join and then filter. And it's those sort of things that you just pick up by like you say, analyzing other people's submissions.
Yeah, exactly. And I think what people need to remember, just for users out there, is that weekly challenges is part of the Alteryx Academy. And that Alteryx Academy is really morphed and grown over the years. So, you know, sticking with the topic of kind of getting started is, I think you and I would both recommend that just stick your nose in Alteryx Academy every day. And, you know, whether it's a weekly challenge, whether it's, you know, one of the vignettes or the little, you know, 2, 3, 4 minute videos, there's just so much in that short, that area of the community that you just can't go wrong. It's funny. We'll have to have Nicole on one of these podcasts, but she was telling me that, you know, when she first got going and got into Alteryx, she got so excited and she was just binge weekly challenges like it was a Netflix special, because she just couldn't, she couldn't get off of them, and she was doing, you know, 20, 30 a week or something crazy like that. And I don't think that's necessary. I think that's cool and exciting, and, you know, so if that's your thing, so be it. But as far as getting started goes, that's probably one of the best ways to get going, is just doing those weekly challenges. So thinking about that, like looking back though, what would you have liked to have known, knowing what you know now, as being down the road 2, 3, 4 years, like what would you have known? What would you like to have known about the community, about getting started, like that would have made your life a lot easier?
Probably just the variety of resources. I think, and this is probably going to show you some naivety, the things like the interactive pathways I've only recently discovered. I think I discovered one on spatial about a year ago because I went in the Inspire conference in London. There was a spatial exam, and I was like, oh, I better just kind of make sure I've kind of covered everything. And then I was like, oh, there's this like learning pathway. So kind of did that, and there's like ones for analytic apps, there's reporting. So I'm actually going through the reporting one at the moment because for the expert exam, I think I probably don't use reporting enough. So I'm like, okay, is there something here that I've missed? And just going over those sort of topics. I can't remember how much content there is, but you probably get through sort of 8 modules or something in about an hour. So they're all like bite-sized 2, 3, 4 minute videos. So it's just a case of carving out the time. So they've probably been around a lot longer than I knew they were around. So discovering those. And there's stuff outside of Alteryx community. Like there's a couple of courses on Pluralsight if you have a subscription for that. I found those sort of resources useful. I think there's some stuff on Udacity as well. So not a huge amount, but hopefully that sort of content grows as more and more people come across it.
Right. This is one that we'll probably have to do a video on, but I really like the ability to go into the samples of each tool. So from my point of view, is getting good at the fundamentals first. So understanding the favorites tools is really critical, because that will be the vast majority of the tools that you use day in, day out. And so getting good at those early is going to help you. And each one of those tools in Alteryx have a sample workflow already built, so you can see examples of it. And it has documentation as well, but those are super effective and helpful in learning.
So just so I'm clear, because there's 2 areas of examples. There's individual tool examples, so you can click on a formula tool, right click on it and say show examples, and then you'll get a workflow with that. But then there's also under help, there's a set of example workflows of like, here's how to build a macro, or here's how to do a data preparation workflow.
Almost like use case driven versus tool driven. I absolutely love it. Kind of wrapping this up from a kind of a getting started point of view, like you really shouldn't like hold back. If you want to get started, you just go out and start learning, and we'll post a lot of the resources and everything for you. But spend a lot of time on the community and the Alteryx Academy. That's a good spot. And then like Chris does, Chris is phenomenal at this. You like helping other people. And I would advocate from a getting started point of view is jump in and try to help others already, because you might not think that you're as helpful, but you are. And it's like, you just got to get in and start doing that. Did you, when did you start posting back to the community, actually? I'm curious.
Definitely not straight away. I don't think there was any sort of barriers to it. I think probably one of my first posts, and this is obviously something we can look back on, each of us, and find out kind of your like hello world type post.
Exactly.
I think I probably just posted something that I was working on at work that was just taking me forever. And it's like one of those things where you go down a rabbit hole and you're like, I just don't know. And I kind of like just took the data, kind of anonymized it, kind of just had, I think it's probably one of the first posts, kind of just took company names and just put like Coca-Cola, Pepsi, just put a very small subset of data up on community and just said, I've tried this, I'm not getting very far with it. Can someone just show me what I'm doing wrong? And I think I was amazed. It was like 5 minutes after posting. It was a Friday evening in the UK, and people were posting, and I was like, oh, okay. Like that's just saved me. I should have probably done this 5 hours ago as opposed to kind of waiting until the evening.
So that's actually that's a funny point you brought up, because the community back then wasn't what it is today, with obvious. But the funny thing is, it was, we had discussion boards and everything, and we post stuff, but like there was 15 minutes or 30 minutes, and we were like, oh my gosh, that's fast. Like these guys must just be sitting out there. And it's hilarious because we're arguing about the fact that there's, not even a second happens and like somebody posts the answer before the question was even asked. Like it's so fast nowadays. So I think the whole concept is not necessarily just helping others, but it's more like being on the discussion boards and posting questions and trying to help other people answer those if you've gone through those as well. And that's pretty good. And then I think the last thing, just to wrap up, is to be a shameless plug here, is you should check out Alteryx. Chris and I are really passionate about Alteryx, and we really, really enjoy the idea of helping others. And whether it's getting started or understanding more about design patterns, which we'll talk a lot about. Understanding different ways that we think you can raise your game to become either an Alteryx ace or an expert. We're out there. We're open to suggestions as well. Any last thoughts, Chris?
Well, I just think we've been chatting for a couple of months now, and we'll cover this in other podcasts, but we've covered a whole load of different topics. I think we've probably got a backlog of hundreds of podcasts that we could do. So just people bear with us. We'll probably cover everything that you're interested in over time. And if you've got anything that you want us to cover, just ping us a note and we'll probably bring it forward. We'll be agile in our way of working on podcasts.
Yep. That's it. Well, hey, thanks, Chris. I appreciate it. This is a good talk. I loved it.
Cool. Cheers. Thanks, Joshua. See you.
Take care.
Thank you for watching. Click here to watch more and here to subscribe.